Hello everyone, it's Chris. It's mid to late August, and you'll notice that I am wearing my full gear. I've got my mesh gloves, but I've got my regular Tourmaster riding jacket, and the zip out vents are all zipped up because it's a cold one today. Well, that's not really accurate. It's not cold, but it's a lot colder than when I shot the video on hot weather riding. According to the Spyder, it's 68 degrees, which means it's probably 60, 61, 62. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. My guess is the norm is probably 75 at this time of the year, at this time of the day. There's the beautiful Canadian skyline there. But it's unseasonably cool today. I am not complaining because I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it. It's just ironic that my last video was on hot weather riding. But today's video is not about the weather, although I wish it was hotter, because I wish for this video I didn't have gloves on and I didn't have a riding jacket on. Because today I want to talk about safety and the Spyder. I want to talk about safety in cars, because my video on hot weather riding, where I mention that sometimes I'll, ride without the helmet on when it's hot, or ride without gloves or my riding jacket, got some interesting feedback. So one guy commented that, what are you so worked up about? It's a three-wheel vehicle with much more stability than a traditional motorcycle, so the safety, that safety envelope it's just a different situation. Another guy said, hey, I'd rethink, the idea of riding with an open face helmet because you're much more exposed than with a full face helmet. Both of those statements, both of those comments on my last video were absolutely right. I agree with both of them, but they're coming at it from different ways. But I've had on my list of topics that I wanted to cover in videos for the future, because I'm starting to assemble and plan ahead a list of topics for future videos, and one of them was, is the Spyder safe? Is it safer than a two-wheel motorcycle? Of course the answer to that is yes. And talk a little bit about riding gear and its necessity when you're riding a Spyder. And it came about originally because when I first got the Spyder, if I was going to ride a few miles down the street to a restaurant, I would wear my normal riding gear, meaning my riding jacket. The idea of putting a casual jacket on was unheard of because I would be on my motorcycle. And after years of riding a two-wheel motorcycle, I wouldn't dream of riding a very thin riding jacket while I was riding the motorcycle with no abrasion resistance, because if I did drop the bike, that would be a very, very bad day. But with the Spyder, I feel comfortable jumping on the motorcycle, going a couple of miles down the road to have lunch, and not wearing a riding jacket, just wearing, if it's cool enough, like a day like today, a light, thin windbreaker. Knowing that if I am thrown from the bike, that windbreaker will provide zero protection. So what I want to ask you folks is, what are your opinions on the safety of the Spyder compared to one, a two-wheel motorcycle, and two, an automobile? So obviously you're safer in any kind of automobile, I don't care if it's a Ford Fiesta or a Chevy Suburban, than you would be on a Spyder. But there are degrees, right? There are matters of degree, and that's what I want this video to be about. And this is where I want you to really comment on this, because I know some of you are probably going to say, yes, you're absolutely right on what I'm about to say, and some of you are going to say you're nuts. And so I think we can all agree that you're safer in an automobile when you wear your seatbelts. I will tell you, there were years when I first started driving, up until technology changed with cars, where I didn't wear a seatbelt in my car. But when the technology came about so that the chimes got more irritating and they got smarter when you wouldn't, put on the seatbelt, it became a habit. I wear my seatbelt because, this is when I had a car, because if you don't, that thing's going to drive you crazy. And it's to the point where when a passenger gets in, you want them to immediately buckle up because you don't want to hear that chime. So they did a good job of forcing the habit by just making those chimes so irritating. But I think we could all agree that if someone's driving the proverbial Ford Fiesta or the Smart Car or the Mini Cooper or whatever, that safety envelope is different than if you're driving a Chevy Suburban or a Ford Explorer. And so when statistics are reported on vehicle accidents, I'm not sure how it works, but I think they track the vehicle type, because I think that's how sometimes recalls are issued, or safety, you know, I'm more familiar with it from an aviation standpoint. If the same type of plane, if a Beach Bonanza continuously is falling out of the sky to the point where they call it the fork-tailed doctor killer, at some point the authorities are going to say, okay, we need a safety recall, and there's a safety directive and all the rest of it issued, and all of the sold Beach Bonanzas have to be retrofitted to change that tail to make it a safer aircraft. And we know that happens with cars, right? What I don't know is how it works with motorcycles and motorcycle incidents and how they're reported. And where I'm going is, if you're an emergency room nurse, or if you're a first responder, and you comment on a motorcycle motovlog when someone says they don't wear a helmet, and you say, well, you better wear a helmet, you better wear riding gloves because I'm an emergency room nurse, or I'm a first responder, and I've been to plenty of, you know, motorcycle accident scenes, and I've seen just some really horrific things that you don't want to, you know, replicate, and so you better wear the helmet. Okay, I get it, I get it. The question is there a differentiation between someone riding a two-wheel motorcycle and a three-wheel motorcycle, and even within a three-wheel motorcycle, someone riding a Harley trike versus a Can-Am Spyder, the reverse trike? Because if the answer to that is no, there's no differentiating, then I think there's some complexity in that. Because I think the vehicle I'm riding right now, compared to the motorcycle that I rode a few months ago, before March 13th, when I bought the Spyder, the KTM 890 Adventure, is dramatically different. And so first of all, there's the idea of three wheels, meaning you're much less likely to fall, to drop the motorcycle. Let's forget impacts from cars like the one in front of us. Let's just talk about hitting a patch of sand, hitting a loose grass that was blown into the street, hitting a wet spot on the road, or an oil patch or something, where the bike falls out from underneath you and you hit the pavement. Whether you're going 5 miles an hour or 75 miles an hour, that's not a pleasant experience when you drop the bike. The question I have is, how many people have dropped a Can-Am Spyder? And I'm not saying that I know that it's almost zero, but my guess is someone has flipped a Can-Am Spyder. If you know, we've got a bunch of Spyder fans, Spyder owners watching this. If you know of a situation where someone has, flipped a Spyder, what happened? Like, what were the injuries from that, catastrophic event? I'm going to pull off the road up ahead, because I just want to get out and walk around this thing real quick. Not everybody watching these videos has a Spyder. Some people want a Spyder, and that's why they're watching my channel and other channels like mine. They all know it's a three-wheel vehicle, but I just want to point out a couple of things when it comes to safety on the Spyder. And this has nothing to do with the numerous safety features. I'm going to just shut it down here. Numerous safety features that are electronic features, vehicle stability systems, and hill assist and all the rest of it that are built into the Spyder, like anti-lock brakes. So first of all, we all know that the Spyder has three wheels. Okay, we all know that. But in addition to three wheels, the stance on and we know it's a reverse trike, right? In addition to that, the stance on the rear wheels is very, very wide. I've compared it to, the old-fashioned snowmobiles to the newer snowmobiles, where the ski stance is much further apart. But not only does it have a wide stance, so it's almost like a tripod, but these are car tires. The front and even the rear tire are not like traditional motorcycle tires that are rounded because you need to lean the motorcycle to turn. These are flat car-like tires. So the stability on this thing is incredible, and in addition to the tripod and the 3 car tires, this thing weighs 1,000 pounds. My KTM weighed 500 pounds. I use the example of riding over the Grand Island bridges, or any tall bridge on really gusty days. it would be terrifying on my two-wheel motorcycles, but this thing, no matter how gusty the wind is, it would never stop me from going for a ride over the bridges, because this thing is so planted, because it weighs 1,000 pounds. So I think from a safety standpoint, we could agree that the idea of dropping the motorcycle, of having it slide out from underneath you, the odds of that are probably close to zero. I'm not going to say zero, because my guess is there are people watching the channel who've heard of an incident where someone flipped it, and I want to know the specifics on what happened there. Then there's the idea of getting hit by another vehicle. So just like, you know, the example that I was using about the differences between automobiles, if I'm going to get hit into a head-on collision with a Mack truck, I'd rather do it with a Chevy Suburban than a Ford Fiesta, and I'd rather do it with a Ford Fiesta than a Can-Am Spyder. Because if you get into a collision, in fact, I'm going to pull over again, because I want to talk about like vehicle impacts from getting hit by another car, by a car, or worse, a truck or something with the Spyder. And so I'm going to just pull it over here and shut it down again and do a quick walk around. And I've got my reasons for this, you'll see in a moment. So let's just say the worst imaginable thing happens when I'm riding the Spyder. I get hit and it's a head-on collision. So this is not going to provide me with any substantial protection whatsoever. This is the front, this is empty, this is plastic. It is not like a thin plastic, and it's, you know, it's somewhat hardened, but I would not want to make a head-on collision with this. However, I'd rather do a head-on collision with this than a one-wheel motorcycle where you get the wheel, the forks are going to fold in. This has, in addition to this, you've got the two wheels that are, well, I don't know, a few feet in front of you. Your feet are kind of protected by this thing. Again, you get hit by a Mack truck or a meteorite, you're going to have a problem, but there's a lot more protection on this. Not to mention, your feet are not on foot pegs that are right here. You've got this, you know, this is going to provide some protection here. I don't know what level, but some protection if you get hit on the side. As will the side case. This is much more solid than any side case I've had on a two-wheel motorcycle. You get into a rear collision, someone hits you from the back. Remember, you're here, your passenger's here. Let's just assume you have a passenger. This is going to provide some, not a lot, but some protection. I hope everyone agrees, more than a traditional two-wheel motorcycle. In fact, even more than a two-wheel motorcycle with side cases and a rear case. My KTM had a really nice Touratech top case and side cases, but this provides much more protection, and that's with a rear passenger. If the rear passenger isn't there, you've got all of this crunch space or whatever. So when you consider the additional protection, not compared to a car, but compared to a two-wheel motorcycle, I think, I just hope that everyone agrees that the Spyder is way, way safer. So then the question is, like, why do we feel, and I shouldn't say we, why do I feel a little guilty when I ride without the helmet, or without gloves, or without, you know, protective gear on my upper body, without the riding jacket? Because the fact of the matter is, while I am exposed to the elements, I don't have, you know, the cage around me like I do in a car. I'm a lot safer than I was when I was riding the two-wheel motorcycle. Am I perfectly safe? No. But when I had my car, my Hyundai Kona, that was a small vehicle. If I get hit by another car, if I got hit by, you know, a meteorite, if I crashed into a bridge abutment, you know, that would be problematic for me. But I never wore a helmet. I never felt the need to wear, you know, protective jackets and gloves. And I realize this is, you know, it's apples and oranges, a car versus a motorcycle, even a three-wheel motorcycle like the Spyder. But I would hope that everyone, well, I'm pretty confident that 100% of you will agree with me. It is a matter of degrees, that there's a difference between riding the two-wheel motorcycle, a Can-Am Spyder, the Ford Fiesta, the Chevy Suburban. I think we all agree with that. And then it's just a matter of, okay, like, to what degree in terms of exposure do you need the riding gloves, do you need the helmet, do you need the riding jacket? I am not advocating not riding with protective gear on. I do it. I've got my gear on right now. But if there's a situation where I don't have it on, I think everyone would probably agree, that view never gets old, everyone would agree that I am in less danger than if I was riding my KTM. And so what I really want to know from you is a few things. So first of all, like, what are your thoughts on anything I said there? Like, am I completely crazy, or do you agree that it is a matter of degrees and that maybe we should reconsider exactly how much safety gear we need based on what we're riding? So if we're taking out the two-wheel motorcycle, for those of you who have both a two-wheel motorcycle and a three-wheel motorcycle, do you have to treat them the same? I don't know. That's more of a question than a statement. The other thing is, and this is really what I'd love to know, is, does anyone have any stats on this? People will comment, well, I'm an emergency room nurse, I'm a first responder, I've seen, you know, motorcycle accidents, and therefore I can say authoritatively you should do such and such. Well, I'm sorry, but I need a little more than that. Was it, did you, you know, report to an accident scene where there was a Can-Am Spyder, and what exactly happened? Like, was it a fatality? Did the guy lose limbs? Did he get bruised? What happened? I'd love to know. If anybody has statistics on this, if anyone knows if I don't know if it's the National Highway Safety Board or the Motorcycle Safety Foundation. I've done a little Googling on this. I couldn't find much in terms of stats, but if you know that stats are reported based on motorcycle type, and you can say, look, people who get into Can-Am Spyder motorcycle accidents, they really get bruised up pretty bad, and here's the proof, that would be interesting to know. That would change the whole nature of this conversation. I will tell you, in my little Googling that I did on this topic before I, came out to do this video, I found a couple of stats that were interesting, and I can't tell you the source on the stats, and I can't tell you its validity or whatnot, but I think I read somewhere that 50% of motorcycle accidents happen during the daytime, which tells me that 50% happen at night. Now, I don't like to ride at night. I almost never do it. I've done it. I will do it again when I feel like I have to or I really want to, but it's rare. But just imagine if you knew that by riding only during the daytime, you cut your accident likelihood in half. That would be good to know. And then I read somewhere that I think a quarter of motorcycle accidents involve motorcycle riders who were impaired by alcohol. Well, I don't drink, ever. Not just when I'm riding or driving a car or anything when I drove a car. I don't drink, period. So just imagine if you could say, okay, I'm not drinking, so I'm going to cut my motorcycle accident, likelihood by a quarter. That's good to know. So there are some stats out there about motorcycle riding. The question I have for those of you who are more informed on this is, are there stats on motorcycle types? And for instance, I saw something, I think it might have been on 60 Minutes, about the Harley-Davidson trikes. And I know in my research on getting a Spyder before I got the Spyder, I saw comparisons of the trike versus the traditional trike versus the reverse trike, and how this reverse trike seems to be safer. If there are stats on accidents with the Harley-Davidson trike versus other trikes, any information like that would be greatly appreciated, not just by me, but by, I'm sure, everyone watching this video. And I'm not suggesting that if we get stats and it shows that these are in fact safer, that we should ride without helmets and without riding gear. I'm going to continue to wear a helmet, wear my riding gloves, and wear my riding jackets. I'm going to continue to prefer to wear jeans over shorts. However, on that day when I've got to go for a short ride, I'm in a state where it's legal to do so, and it's a hot day out, I might ride without the helmet. Sorry. So if this video has been interesting to you in any way, if you have any comments on it, please share them. Please hit like. If you do not subscribe to my channel yet, I sure would appreciate it if you would do so. And whether you subscribe or not, I just want to say thank you so much for watching my videos, especially if you actually watch till the end. And until my next video, you have a great day. Bye-bye.